and it looked like there is more drama coming out of the Caitlin Clark pipeline with her final preseason game.
I wish Caitlin Clark gets back, or I can't feel my face.
Oh.
I can't feel it. Are they?
She gonna do it.
Nah.
I don't think she
Let that go. I'm gonna just be honest. Caitlin
Clark is back, and so are the refs, who apparently got their licenses from a Cracker Jack box. If you thought last season's whistleblowing circus was over, think again. She's out here dropping 30, while the refs are out here dropping IQ points. Did someone forget to rotate them out? Or are they just Caitlin's permanent haters? Grab your popcorn, because this meltdown is hotter than her three-point percentage. And trust me, it's hilariously infuriating. Let's dive in.
They need to be investigated ASAP. We see what's happening with Caitlin Clark. There's no reason you shouldn't be protecting your star player, because without Caitlin Clark, there won't be no sold-out arenas. The viewership on TV would not be like it is now, where everybody's watching it because it's must-watch TV. But we are seeing how she's being treated.
You know what's apparently harder than guarding Caitlin Clark in the WNBA? Finding a ref who can actually see it happen. Because here we go again. Caitlin Clark walks into a WNBA game with a target on her back the size of Indiana, gets clotheslined like it's a 1997 WWE match, and the refs? They're too busy doing yoga in the corner or bird watching. Maybe they thought they signed up for the Cirque du Soleil instead of a professional basketball league. Because what we witnessed during the Indiana Fever versus Atlanta Dream game wasn't officiating. It was interpretive dance with whistles.
About the WNBA refs, and start the video there and center it on that. The WNBA refs are not consistent. A hit to the arm on one play is a foul, and a hit to the arm on another play is not a foul. The inconsistency is really bad for this league, especially with all these players you got coming in. You got Caitlin leading it, right?
Caitlin Clark, arguably the most hyped player to hit the WNBA hardwood in decades, is out there trying to play basketball while the opposing team is auditioning for gladiators. She's running plays, hitting shots, dishing passes, and in return, she's getting tackled like she owes someone money. The Atlanta Dream didn't just play aggressive, they made it look like the game plan was printed on a scroll titled, Step 1, Stop Caitlin. Step 2, if you can't stop Caitlin, try physical assault.
What's the DJ Currington situation? Now, yesterday, I did a DJ Currington video kind of breaking down that whole thing, technical on that. They didn't call nothing on that for her poking Caitlin Clark in the eye, and that really had me thinking like, damn, they didn't call nothing on that for her poking Caitlin Clark in the eye, and that really had me thinking like, damn, how many times did they actually, drop the ball and didn't call stuff against Caitlin? Now, Caitlin got called for a technical for hitting the back of the backboard.
And still, the refs? Absolutely nothing. Not a peep. You'd have more chance getting a foul call from a traffic light. But wait, it gets better. The one time someone did blow a whistle, it was to give Caitlin Clark her first technical foul of 2025. That's right. The refs missed every single illegal hit on her body, but pulled out the yellow card when she looked annoyed. Apparently, expressing frustration after being mugged on court is the real crime here. Caitlin got shoved, elbowed, and tripped, but the real problem? Her tone.
When Clark gets her first tech,
maybe the WNBA should invest in emotion meters. Oh no, she frowned slightly after getting thrown into a chair. That's a T. At this point, WNBA referees are like those people in horror movies who walk right past the actual murderer and go, must have been the wind. Caitlin could be dunked headfirst into a popcorn machine, and the refs would be like, incidental contact. Play on.
Now, I'm here to tell you, this is getting mixed reviews. Some people saying Caitlin Clark pushed off. Another person is saying the other players bear hug Caitlin Clark. But let's read what the caption stated. It says, the ref standing right there watching her put two hands on CC waist. If he didn't call that, he ain't calling the push off.
Let's talk about the epidemic, yes, epidemic, of WNBA officiating that makes you wonder if the refs got their rule book mixed up with a manual for capture the flag. Because Caitlin Clark isn't the only one getting body checked like it's a hockey game, she's just the most visible victim. And that visibility, it should matter. You'd think the league would treat her like a walking marketing miracle. someone who boosts ticket sales, TV ratings, and social media engagement just by tying her shoes. You'd expect her to be swaddled in bubble wrap and escorted to games by a team of Secret Service agents. Instead, the league's unofficial policy seems to be, let's grow women's basketball by letting defenders treat her like she owes them money. The silence from league officials is deafening. No statements, no warnings, no attempts at basic accountability, just an eerie calm while chaos unfolds in real time. Clark is getting battered on national television, and instead of outrage, we get crickets. Meanwhile, lesser-known players are catching similar heat, but without the headlines to amplify their mistreatment. If this is how the WNBA plans to protect the game, they might want to rethink the playbook, preferably one that doesn't include gladiatorial combat.
She's being pushed around, she's being slapped around, sometimes she's being punched around, and the fouls just keep getting harder and harder. When are the refs going to do their job? As a matter of fact, when is the WNBA going to do their job? Because there should be some suspensions, check. There should be some fines, check. And you should be setting an example for your star player. Because God forbid this young lady gets hurt. Everything collapses for the WNBA. So give credit where it's due. Stop with the hate behavior. Start calling the calls the way it's supposed to be.
It's honestly impressive how the referees in the WNBA manage to be consistently awful for everyone. True equality in incompetence. Equal opportunity neglect, if you will. You get smacked in the face? No foul. You get body slammed into the third row? Oh, you probably flopped. And heaven forbid you ask a ref why they didn't call it. You'll get slapped with a technical for daring to question their divine silence. The bar for misconduct is so low in this league, it might actually be subterranean. Let's revisit Caitlin Clark's infamous technical. What exactly was the crime? Being upright, expressing emotion, breathing too confidently? If existing while female and exceptional is the new standard for unsportsmanlike conduct, we might as well hand out technicals at the tip-off and save everyone the suspense. But this isn't about a single call or one bad game. It's a pattern that's growing more blatant with every quarter. If you can't beat Caitlin Clark with skill, apparently the strategy is to bulldoze her and bank on the refs to shrug, sip their coffee, and pretend it never happened. The message being sent isn't play hard, play fair. It's play dirty, and we'll look the other way.
I don't want to see none of the calls being missed like we seen last year, bro. These referees have to get it together. Now, we know the Indiana Fever front office did everything they had to do, put the right pieces around Caitlin Clark, make sure they make it far in the playoffs, and possibly get a WNBA championship. Well, that part is done. We got a new team. We got a new coach. They got everything they need to do to take off for the 2025 season. The only thing left is these WNBA referees. This need to be talked about, just like it was supposed to be talked about at the conclusion of that season. And I'm back on a bumper, bro. I am not letting up on them damn WNBA referees because they are the biggest haters when it comes to Caitlin Clark, bro.
And yes, Atlanta Dream, we absolutely saw you. You didn't play defense so much as you conducted a full-blown live-action episode of American Ninja Warrior, with Caitlin Clark cast as the main obstacle. At one point, I was half expecting a buzzer to go off while someone yelled, "She made it through the gauntlet," because that wasn't basketball. It was a full-contact stunt show. And the WNBA officiating crew? They didn't flinch. They stood there like gallery critics, admiring some abstract interpretive dance and nodding along like, yes, the brutality really speaks to the chaos of modern femininity. Avant-garde art, indeed. At this rate, Caitlin might as well show up in football pads, a helmet, and cleats, because clearly normal basketball gear isn't enough to protect her from getting body checked every 5 seconds. Although, knowing these refs, they'd probably hit her with a technical foul for excessive preparedness or unsportsmanlike use of safety equipment. But let's talk about the bigger tragedy here. WNBA officiating in general. If the referees were any more inconsistent, they'd be a toddler trying to pick a favorite crayon. You can maul someone on a drive and get away with it. But talk back, and suddenly you're cast as the mustache-twirling villain in a melodrama.
Indiana Fever fans, we got another W in the preseason against the Atlanta Dream, 81-76. There's a lot that went on in this game. So this was a very competitive game. all the way through. They were given full court defense on Caitlin Clark for the most part of the game. The starters did sit after 3. Caitlin Clark finished with 13, 7, and 6. She could have had 12 to 15 assists. Wait until you see the highlights. She did drop a couple bombs. She hit 3 3-pointers. We did get
The league keeps insisting it wants more fans, more viewers, more buzz, more seats filled. Well, here's a revolutionary thought. Maybe don't let your biggest star get body slammed like she's auditioning for WWE Raw. Watching Caitlin Clark get hip-checked, elbowed, and bulldozed every night like she's in the middle of a Jason Bourne chase scene doesn't exactly scream watchable product. And the officials? Useless. They're not referees. They're glorified mannequins with whistles. Cones would offer more resistance. At least cones don't pretend to have authority. These refs? They act like they're there for the cardio, not the calls. But the real MVP of this embarrassment? The league office. Silent, mute, vanished, no statement, no acknowledgement, not even a generic, half-hearted, "we'll look into it." Just a collective shrug as if protecting star players is some optional feature in the settings menu. It begs the question, are they actually watching the games, or are they just relying on a group of interns with dial-up and a carrier pigeon? Because from the outside, it looks like negligence dressed up as professionalism. If you want fans to care, try showing that you do first. Right now, the only thing the WNBA is protecting is its own indifference.
The biggest hurdles for Caitlin Clark and Indiana Fever last season was the WNBA referees. Now, the front office made it their business to revamp the team, bring in more aggressive players to help them get further in the WNBA season and possibly win a WNBA championship. But before any of that stuff can even get done, we have to take a look at the misguided missile that can destroy everything this upcoming season, and that is the WNBA referees and this secret agenda. Yes, there was a secret agenda against Caitlin Clark.
Let's also talk about the absurd reality that Caitlin Clark, a generational talent, is now being penalized for raising the league's profile. Because that's what this is. The more famous she gets, the more aggressively she's targeted. And instead of the league stepping up to protect her, they're letting her be turned into a tackling dummy with eyeliner. Imagine if LeBron James got shoved into the crowd and no one called it. There would be a federal investigation. ESPN would shut down all other coverage for a week. The NBA commissioner would have to hold an emergency press conference at a cheesecake factory. But Caitlin Clark gets body checked, and what do we get? Crickets. It's almost like there's a quiet resentment brewing in the league. Like, how dare this young, hyped-up player show up, generate record-breaking ratings, and expect to be treated like an actual basketball player instead of a piñata on legs. The irony is delicious. The WNBA finally has the media spotlight it's been craving for years. And instead of making the most of it, they're letting it play out like a blooper reel.
Now, on to the fun stuff. So I don't know if you guys know, but Caitlin Clark did promise Coach Stephanie White that she would only get 2 techs for the season. And she has already received her first before the season started. No, this does not count towards the season technical fouls, but if she is promising Steph White 2 techs for the season and has already received her second tech in her second game, I wouldn't bet on her only getting 2 techs. But, you know, it is Caitlin Clark, and whatever she puts her mind to, she can usually accomplish.
And speaking of those refs, can we talk about how wildly allergic they are to common sense? It's like they have an EpiPen for logic and refuse to use it. 1 minute, a player gets absolutely flattened, full WWE suplex energy, and the whistle is silent like it's nap time. The next minute, someone breathes too hard in the paint, and suddenly we're in whistle symphony mode. A side-eye, technical foul. An eyebrow raise, ejection incoming. You'd think the referees are running some kind of avant-garde performance art experiment called What If Basketball, but upside down. It's like their rulebook was written by a committee of squirrels after chugging espresso and reading legal disclaimers. Or worse, by consultants who've never watched a full quarter, but definitely made a PowerPoint about it. Let's just call it what it is. WNBA refereeing isn't just bad, it's practically a genre now, somewhere between absurdist comedy and psychological horror. 50 Shades of Missed Calls, a fever dream in whistle form. the Netflix special you didn't ask for but can't stop watching because it's so jaw-droppingly chaotic, it starts feeling like satire. At this point, the only consistency is the inconsistency. Bravo references. Pure, uncut madness.
The offensive fouls are definitely surprising at times. I feel like I do get help.
She sold this flop perfectly. I gotta tip my hat to it. Had her hand on her chest. Most people who flop, they always do the little face thing. And she sold it perfectly. I gotta give it to her. Here's like a play from a different game. Watch Caitlin's reaction. She wanted to really call out the refs.
However, Caitlin Clark's 2025 first technical foul we talked about earlier isn't some dramatic tale of a rookie losing her cool or snapping under pressure. No, it's the story of a player finally reacting after being used as a human trampoline for 4 straight quarters. She didn't throw punches, didn't scream at the refs, didn't stage a WWE-style takedown at half court. She simply expressed frustration after enduring yet another night of contact that looked more like a wrestling match than a basketball game. And for that, she gets hit with a tech? Seriously? Let's be honest, Caitlin Clark didn't start the chaos. The only thing she's guilty of is showing up and daring to be excellent. But somehow, in this twisted narrative, she's framed as the problem. It's almost impressive how the WNBA took what should be a season of celebration, an explosive rookie campaign, packed arenas, a surge in viewership and merchandise sales, and managed to light it on fire, courtesy of a group of referees who look more lost than a GPS with no signal.
Cece just got a technical foul for talking to the ref after a turnover led to an open Bree Jones layup. Looks like she was looking for a foul on the possession that led to the turnover. Before you ask, I don't think they count towards the 7 in a regular season, but I'm not sure. And this is the foul that she was arguing with the ref about.
The referees have consistently failed to call obvious fouls when Clark is shoved, hacked, or flattened, then suddenly find their whistles when she dares to react. If they don't want to do their jobs, maybe hand them brooms instead. At least then they could sweep up the wreckage they've left behind. Clark isn't demanding superstar privileges. She's just asking for a fair shot, a level playing field. Equal enforcement of the rules shouldn't be a controversial request. But in the WNBA right now, the only rule that seems to apply is that all bets are off when Caitlin Clark has the ball. The inconsistency isn't just frustrating, it's embarrassing. And if the league isn't careful, it might fumble the biggest opportunity it's had in decades. Well, maybe the league will finally say something. Maybe the refs will get training. Maybe pigs will fly, and those pigs will call better fouls with more consistency and fewer blind spots. Who knows at this point? What's painfully obvious is that Caitlin Clark is getting roughed up out there like it's a full contact sport and not the WNBA.
Attendance for Indiana Fever games? Are you kidding me? WNBA draft, games on ABC, ESPN, television ratings. She's directly responsible. And people were resenting her for it like she was the cause of the problems that they had for the lack of recognition. No, she just happened to be born white. That's it. Caitlin Clark hasn't spoken against anybody. She hasn't assisted in denying anybody else the privileges they deserve. If anything, she's tried to provide assistance. A rising tide lifts all boats. She's trying to be the rising tide that lifts the boat.
It's like every defender sees her as a target with a neon sign that reads, "Hit me," and the officials. They're apparently too busy counting popcorn kernels to notice. Clark isn't just taking hard fouls. She's getting body checked, elbowed, shoved, and dragged like she wandered into a hockey rink by mistake. And what does she get in return? Blank stares and swallowed whistles from the referees. If this is part of the welcome to the league hazing ritual, someone needs to turn down the toughness dial before we end up watching her post-game interviews from a hospital bed. If Caitlin Clark wants to survive a full WNBA season, she might need to suit up in armor or strap a GoPro to each ref's head just to get a fair call. Because relying on the current officials, that's the real technical foul.